Hello guys, it is Pixar Theories here, and the brand new Pixar film Turning Red was just released, which means, as always, when a new Pixar film comes out, we have to fit it into the Pixar Theory. If you don't already know, the Pixar Theory is the idea that every Pixar film takes place in the same universe on one giant timeline, and each film is connected. If you need a quick refresher, then I will link down below, or you can go and click the card to a quick recap of the Pixar Theory. And without further ado, let's find out how Turning Red fits into the Pixar Theory. But before we go any further, please make sure that you click that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on so that you get notified every time we make any brand new Pixar videos. This film just reminded me of so many different Pixar films. Whilst there is nothing like we've ever seen from Pixar before, it definitely took inspiration from some other films. Brave with the obvious things of people turning into bears, or in this case giant red pandas. Inside Out thinking about what growing up is like for a girl and the strong emotions it can cause. Coco with remembering your ancestry and how it can come back to help or haunt you. Even Monsters Inc. just because, again, we have giant red pandas. But to start with, let's just look at where it chronologically takes place in the timeline, and then we can discuss the wider implications it has on the timeline as a whole. We find out at the very beginning of the film that Turning Red is taking place not in 2022 when the film came out, but rather 2002 from a photo shown on the screen while Malin is monologuing. Then, throughout the film, we can see many calendars with this date on, and the technology definitely supports this with no smartphones in sight, and the highest technology being the original flip phones. And we can even narrow it down further because we know Tyler's party and the Four Town concert is all happening in May, so the film is set in late May 2002. So, what other films take place around that time? Well, we're looking at around the time the Toy Story and Finding Nemo / Dory films take place. Finding Nemo is a tricky one because many say it takes place in 2003 when the film was released. However, on a calendar in the dentist's office, we can see that November falls on a Sunday, and the only day that November starts on a Sunday is either 2009 or 1998. I'm going to say it likely takes place to 1998 as that's closer to when it came out, meaning Turning Red would take place 4 years after on the complete other side of the world. Instead of Australia, we're in Toronto, Canada. So that's literally where it takes place chronologically on the timeline, but what does this film add into the greater Pixar universe? Well, I'd say it just strengthens many pre-existing ideas. Firstly, animals. During this time in the timeline is when animals are beginning to gain intelligence. You have Finding Nemo and Dory like we've discussed, where by Finding Dory they can literally drive cars. A few films later we have Ratatouille, where we see Remy being a star cook in Paris. We have A Bug's Life focusing on how the smaller animals are advancing rapidly. And the big one is Up, where humans have managed to make animals very intelligent with technology, so they are able to communicate to humans like Doug. And this is a really big point, as we see by the end of the film, Malin accepts that the red panda is a part of her and decides to keep it and presents herself to the world a lot of the time as the panda. Now this is big because even though Malin is human, she's now technically part animal, which supports this idea of this being the start of animals gaining intelligence. And like Doug, who uses human technology to be smart, Malin is literally a panda who has a human brain. Speaking of Malin being part human and part giant red panda, the way the red panda acts as a spirit that enters and leaves the body is very similar to how the souls work in Soul in the Lost Soul area. Because there, when someone on Earth is meditating, their soul literally leaves their body to go to the Great Before, which suggests these things could come from similar powers. Speaking of power, whether you want to say the giant panda is a gift from the Red Moon or some sort of spirit, at the end of the day, it is basically magic that the family has possessed for generations. Now, I wonder, where else in the Pixar timeline has magic meant that humans have turned into animals? Maybe even bears. That's right, let's go to ancient Scotland, where in Brave we see magic being used to turn Queen Eleanor into a bear. It's most likely that the giant panda magic came from ancient China and maybe around the same time as Brave took place, so they could have some sort of link between them. But as always with the Pixar Theory, Boo is a huge part of it. Here she's the witch, and now let's follow where Boo goes. Because let's also think of the long-term implications of this power Malin's family has. They have the ability for every future generation who is a woman to possess the power of the giant red panda, and it doesn't look like there's necessarily an endpoint. And if this family has a power, what's to say that other families don't also have some sort of similar power that involves crossing humans with animals? And it just so happens that the most recent Pixar film to come out just before this was another film about a family who have the power to be human or be animals. In this case, it was Luca. He had the choice to be human or a sea monster. So it's kind of similar, and these seem to be appearing a lot throughout the Pixar timeline. We seem to be getting a lot of times where humans can be animals and animals can be humans. And this leads us to what Turning Red's huge implication is to the whole theory. According to the Pixar Theory, the end of the timeline is Monsters Inc., where all of the humans have gone and monsters have taken over. But the big question is, where did the humans go? And the theory basically states that at some point humans and animals merged together in some crazy evolution, which eventually formed into the different types of monsters we see in Monstropolis. Well, for the first time ever, we have several humans who can transform into animals and who are technically part animal. If this carried on for generations across thousands of years and mixed with lots of other parts of the population, then it could have started the beginning of the monster race and the extinction of animals and humans all together. And that is how Turning Red fits into the Pixar theory. But anyway guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, let me know down below, what do you think about this? Do you reckon we've got the place of where Turning Red takes place chronologically right? And do you reckon that the bigger implications of this film are that this is the start of humans and animals beginning to merge together to eventually form the monster race? Guys, let me know all your thoughts down below, and as always, we've been here on Gated Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.